Okay, so I was going to record this and then edit it afterwards and try and have it sharp and everything streamlined and what have you, but it's a lot of work and effort to do that. It takes a lot of time in post edit, so I just decided I'm going to blow through this, kind of stream it live, and what will be will be. But the whole idea is to just try and give an overview to everything related to the new racing series from FRR called the Super 6. So a lot of us have probably heard about it already, but we start looking into it, and it seems pretty complicated, and there seems to be an awful lot going on and an awful lot of information to take in. So what I thought I'd do is try and streamline it. I'll timestamp this video as well, so there might be certain parts that you're more interested in than other parts. If you're just a rider and you just want to figure out how you get on, get registered, you just might want to jump to that part. If you're going to be managing a team, you might want to know about something else, or you might want an understanding of how the entire thing works, all the leagues, the times, the point system. So I'll try and go through that to the best of my knowledge as things currently stand, but I'm pretty sure I have a good handle on it at this point. So I've designed a little chart to kind of help streamline it, and we'll jump across to a couple of links every now and then where all this information is available from FRR. I've just kind of put it all together in one little place that was kind of easy for me to understand, and that hopefully then means it's easier for others to understand. So how's it working? Well, Super 6 is going to be made up of 4 regions or conferences. Is that, I think, the name that sometimes gets used? Yeah, conferences. So 4 regions or conferences. So we have North, South, East and West. North is going to be Europe, South is going to be Asia Pacific, I think that's what that stands for. East is going to be the east of the USA, and West is going to be the west of USA. So initially, all of Europe will just be racing against Europe, all of South will be racing against South, all of East will be racing against East, and all of West will be racing against West. Within each region, there will be 5 leagues. So we have the Alpha League, Beta League, Gamma League, Delta League, and Epsilon League. I've never heard of Epsilon before in my life, don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but there you go. So how do you know what league you're going to go in? Well, that's going to be decided by your ZRA Racing Rider score. So Alpha is obviously going to be the very top, so that's, if you look at the racing score, Zwift Racing score. So how it works, if we go to the categories, is there's basically 10 categories, 1 to 10, and the way the leagues are going to be split up is you're going to have 2 categories per league. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I'm a 3, so that means I can't race in 5 or lower. I can race up in Diamond if I want to, the Diamond Ruby one. So, sky's the limit, but you can't race down if you're at a certain level, which obviously makes sense to keep it fair racing. So Alpha is going to be any ZRA score. Beta is going to be if a max of 3, so any rider, even if you have a score of 8, you can ride in the Beta League or with a Beta team if you wish. Gamma, max of 5, Delta, max of 7, Epsilon, max of 9. So hopefully that makes sense. So those are your 5 leagues, and then within each league there's going to be divisions. Now we don't know how many divisions will be there per league because it depends on how many teams sign up. So let's say, for example, 12 teams from Europe sign up for the Alpha League. So you're talking about all your elite riders, your 1 and 2 rated riders. So that would probably be just enough for one division. There might be a case to split it into 2 6-team divisions, but let's just call it one division that would be there, and that would be Alpha Division 1. Let's have a look at Beta. There's probably going to be more teams in the Beta section and the Alpha section. So let's say that in Europe there's 30 teams that register to race in the Beta League. So all those riders will be a max of 3. So mostly you're probably going to have riders of an ability of 3 and 4. Although, as I said, you can have, if you wish, riders 5, 6, 7 in that league also. But max of 3. So that could be 30 teams that gets registered, in which case there'll probably be 2 divisions of 15 or 3 divisions of 10 teams. So that's kind of to be decided. So say it was 3 divisions of 10 teams, then you'd have Beta Division 1, Beta Division 2, Beta Division 3. So 3 divisions. that's the idea of the qualifying race. So the first race of the season in September will be the qualifying race, and depending on how well your team does in that race will depend on what division you get put into. You want to do well, you want to get into Division 1 because it's only the top 5 teams from Division 1 at the end of the entire season will go through to the semi-finals and finals of the World Championships. So if you start out at the bottom in Division 3, you will then have to earn promotion through round 1, earn promotion again through round 2, and then hopefully in round 3 finish in the top 5 of Division 1. So you're giving yourself a bit of work to do if you don't qualify for Division 1 in the qualifying round. Now, it's not the end of the world if you don't qualify for Division 1. You can still work your way through, but it's worth your while putting that effort in or putting a good team forward for the qualifying round and trying to get into that Division 1, because then you're basically just trying to avoid relegation for the first three rounds rather than actually trying to earn promotion. So that's how the divisions and leagues work. So it's going to basically be the same then all the way down through. So those are your leagues, and every league, how many divisions will be in a league will be dependent on how many teams sign up, which at the moment is an unknown. So hopefully that makes some sense. The next thing then after that, and that obviously applies for each region. So each region is going to have 5 leagues, and then each league will have as many divisions as it needs to accommodate the teams that sign up. And that's pretty much it. So the races themselves, how does it all work? Well, to begin with, the races, some people may not like this, but the majority of people seem to like this setup that it's a level playing field. So and those that do FRR are familiar with no steering, everyone's on the same bike, and there's no power-ups. So it's a very even playing field. There's no element of luck involved in any of it. In this series, there's also going to be no HUD, which is the heads-up display. And anyone that's ever done any non-HUD racing, it's a very different experience. So, it's hard, it's tough, it takes a bit of getting used to, but it's very good. It's definitely something different. And I think that's going to be very interesting to see how people get on with that. So a very level playing field. By the way, there's also no sauce for Zwift. So if you think you're going to be able to get around the no heads-up display by thinking, well, I have sauce, I can use that. No, that's disabled as well. So everyone is cycling essentially blind. You don't have those advantages that you usually have with the head-up display. Okay, so that aside, the qualification race is on September the 20th. So as we said, that's the race where ideally you want to do fairly well to get a place in the highest division in your league. If you don't make that qualification race for one reason or another, you can submit a team afterwards, but that team will be placed at the bottom of the lowest division. So if your league has 3 divisions, you will go into the 3rd division. So then after the qualification race and all the teams have now been sorted into their relative leagues and into their relative divisions, round 1 starts on October 10th, and then it's a race every Friday evening, fixed time. So unlike, say, for example, ladder racing, where it's hard to organise race times and all that kind of carry on, more like along the lines, I suppose, of ZRL, you're going to have a fixed time every week, fixed day, fixed time for the race, which is every Friday evening. So October 10th through to November 7th for round 1. 5 races per round. It looks like it's going to be 3 points races, and then there's going to be 1 ITT race and 1 scratch race. So let's take the points race to begin with. How does it work? Your team will be made up of 5 riders. You will assign 2 sprinters, or you will assign 2 riders the role of being sprinters. You will assign 2 riders the role of climbers, and you will assign 1 GC rider. And then one of those 5 riders will also be assigned as the wild card. Now, as of yet, we don't know what those wild card requirements are. So basically, there's going to be a challenge that's set in each points race. And if the rider you nominate can meet that challenge, he'll earn an extra point for your team. And that's quite a lot, actually. So, yeah, that's something we need more information on that we don't have yet. But we have one of your 5 riders you can nominate as the wild card. So obviously, depending on what the challenge is, will obviously depend on what rider you nominate. Every race is going to have 2 sprints and 2 climbs, and then obviously 1 finish line. The sprints and the climbs are FTS, fastest through section, so not first across line. So if it's a case that the climbers and the GC riders get ahead of the sprinters, say there's a couple of climbs early on and they go ahead, well, it's not as if the sprinters now have nothing to sprint for because it's fastest through section. And it's only the sprinters that you nominate can score points on the sprint section. None of the other riders in the race can score points on the sprint section. Likewise, only the climbers can score points on the climbing section. Everyone can score points for their finishing position, but the GC riders effectively get double points for the finishing position. We'll give an example of how the points structure works at the very end, but that's just an overview of how a points race operates. We then have an ITT race. So I thought it was a team time trial race, but it's not. It's an individual time trial. And how it'll work is, again, you'll have your 5 riders, and as far as I know, it's the time of the fastest 3 riders in your team. Their combined time makes up your team time. So you could have an ITT rider who, your first who's your fastest ITT rider in that race, and he gets a really, really quick time. But then your second and third place riders, they may have average times or maybe not great times. So it's a combination of the 3 of your best 5 riders is what makes up your total time. So, the chances of any team having the 3 best ITT riders in their team is probably slim. So you could end up with, a really strong guy and then 2 average guys, or 3 average guys, or 1 strong guy, an average guy, a weak guy, So it gives, again, it's just giving every team an opportunity to gain some points there without any team dominating by being the total of 3 riders and not just 1 rider or even 2 riders. So I'm pretty sure it's 3. We can check on the rules on that. Is it score points down here? Here it is, your scoring. Just to double confirm that. Point scoring, yes. Teams with 3 riders will rank higher. Teams who return to league points, you must have at least 1 finisher. Combined finish time, there it is there. Yeah, the combined finish time of the first 3 riders to finish the course. So yeah, that's how the scoring works for the ITT section. And then there's a scratch race, and a scratch race is what it is. So basically everyone is racing to the finish line, and then it's finish points in the order that you finish across the finish line. And it's going to be a combination of all 5 riders' points that decide who wins the race, who places second, who places third, and so on. So hopefully that makes sense. So after round 1, when all that's decided, if you're in Division 2, for example, say there's 3 divisions and you're in Division 2, well, the 3 top teams in Division 2 will get promoted to Division 1. The bottom 3 teams of Division 1 will get demoted down to Division 2, and the bottom 3 teams of Division 2 will get demoted down to Division 3, and the top 3 teams of Division 3 will get promoted up to Division 2. So 3 up, 3 down, and it's an opportunity for new teams to be added in at this point. So again, because it's a new event, there's probably going to be a lot of clubs, teams, riders coming late to the game, realising this is good, I want to be a part of it, I want to be involved, how do I join in? So it's an event that's going to be carrying on over a number of months, so it'd be a shame to rule out other teams being able to join. So new teams can be added at this stage, but they will be added into the lowest division. So again, if there's 3 divisions in your league, they will have to start in Division 3 and then earn promotion up through the divisions. So that's an opportunity to add in new teams. And then basically that repeats itself. Round 2, most likely it'll follow the same format where we do have 5 races, and I would imagine again it's going to be 1 ITT, 1 scratch and 3 points races. Then following round 2, which runs from November 21st to December 19th. Following that, it's 3 up, 3 down again, promotion, relegation, new teams added, and then we go into the final round, round 3, which starts January 16th, finishes February 13th, and at the end of that, the top 5 teams in Division 1 of every league are the ones that will go through to the semi-finals and finals. And the semi-finals and finals are essentially going to be the North will face off against the South, so the best 5 teams from each league will face off against the best 5 teams from each league in APAC, and the same in the USA. The best 5 teams in each league from the East will face off against the best 5 teams from each league in the West. And then once that's decided, we have the best 5 teams from each half face one another in the World Final. And I presume those are, as far as I know, those are one-off races, and I'm going to guess that they'll be points races as well. So hopefully that made sense. 3 rounds, those are your dates. Those dates fit nicely in between the FRR tours as well. So I think there's a couple of them that may be the tour finishes on... which is it? I'm trying to remember now. One of them, sometimes the days can not overlap, but it's one day right next to the other. So a tour, I'm trying to think how that would work, because if the rounds begin on a Friday. Oh yeah, that's right, yeah. So I think one of the rounds, the last day is a Friday, and then one of the tours begins on the next day, a Saturday, something like that. So there are, not overlaps, but very close together. But essentially, the 6 racing series fits in between the FRR Tour series, and there's usually a bit of a gap, but a couple of them I think are the next day. Now, how do you get involved if you're a rider? So what are the rider requirements? Well, you need to have a Zwift Power account. So hopefully if you're on Zwift and you're looking to get involved in events like this, you have a Zwift Power account. If you're new to Zwift and new to getting involved in racing, you're going to have to set one of these up anyway. So there'll be other videos and ways showing you how to do that. Not very difficult, but you're going to need a Zwift Power racing account, free charge to set up. So just get one of those set up. The next thing you're going to need is an FRR account. And again, free of charge to set that up. Just go to flamrougeracing.com, create your account there. When you create your account, this is the interface that you'll see. This interface, if you're already registered with FRR, this interface also gives you your current ZRA rating. So you could go to the Zwift Racing app online and have a look at, when you log in, go to your profile, it'll obviously tell you there what your current velo rating is. So there's a couple of different ways you can find that out. I think you have to log into Zwift Racing app. But again, it's just a matter of, I think you can do it through your Google account. It's pretty easy and straightforward to get logged into this. So those are the 3 accounts you probably need to set up. Zwift Racing app, Flamme Rouge Racing, and a Zwift Power account. But I'm guessing the majority of us have one of those already. In your FRR account, up to now, you're probably only have ever registered for the tours, because of course 6 Racing is a new event. So you need to register your interest for 6 Racing in your FRR account. I have not done that yet, so I'm going to do that now, and we'll see how easy it is. So basically you will open up your Flamme Rouge Racing account. So I'm already in, I'm logged in here. And then you want to go to event registration. You want to enter a new event, and then you want to select an event. So at the moment there's only one event to choose from. Sooner or later the next tour will be added in there, so you'll click there to add in the next tour, which I think is Tour France. But at the moment we're interested in the Super 6, so we just click on that. For now, I'm just going to go, no thank you, I'm just a rider. If you want to be a team manager, you would obviously then, yes, I would like to be a club manager, which I'll probably do later on. But for now, just for demonstration purposes, we can leave that there. I'm just a rider. Then you want to tell everyone you're not a robot. And then confirm event registration. Let's see what happens. Here we go. So I'm now registered for that event. That means that when my team captain wants to add me into a team, I'm now available for choosing, or at least I should be. There's a couple other things we still have to do. So you're now registered for the event, but you must have a current ZRA rating. So that's the Zwift Racing app. Anyone that's on Zwift regularly and doing regular races, you don't have to worry about this. You're almost certainly going to have a up-to-date ZRA. If it's a thing where you've been away for the summer, you're just coming back to the winter for some Zwift racing, you're going to have to get 3 races under your belt. So I think it requires a minimum of 3 races in the last 90 days. It might be 3 races in the last 60 days, I'm not sure, but essentially you need to get 3 races that qualify for Zwift racing under your belt so that it can give you a current score. Otherwise you won't qualify to race in FRR events. Now, the team time trial events, so I did a team time trial last week. That does not, it's registered there, it's come up, but you see there's no little arrow next to it. So it's not a race or a ride that counts towards one of the 3 races that you need to register, because it's a team trial event. The same with any of the ZRL races for different reasons, because so many of them are points races. The reporting of the finishing positions it doesn't transfer across. So basically that's the reason that ZRL events don't count, or any group rides or anything like that you might do, they don't count. So as you can see there, the ones with the little arrows next to them are the ones that have counted towards my Zwift racing app. So there's any amount of them on Zwift. So you just have to get 3 of those under your belt, and that'll give you an up-to-date rating, which then will qualify you to be allowed or make you selectable for your team manager. If you don't do that, then he won't be able to select you and add you into the team. So you have to have an FRR account, register for 6. You must have a current rating on ZRA, and then you also have to do the weekly race verification. Now all this sounds complicated, but it's really not. And honestly, for the majority of riders that are on Zwift, all this will already be done. Except for this bit here. So you need to go, it's a relatively new thing in FRR where we have race verification. So what they're doing is you click on this race verification. I've already done it earlier on, I should have waited, but anyway, it's just you clicking on a button to confirm that your current registered weight and height and the power meter that you're using or the bike that you're using on Zwift, as is noted on your Zwift account, that is correct. And it will get you to confirm that once a week. If you do not click that confirm button, you won't be available for selection by your team captain. So just once a week, you'll have to log in, go to race verification, and basically go, yep, that's correct. It's just a way, I guess, of reminding people to maybe check their weight. So kind of making people actively go in once a week and click on a button to effectively say, yes, this is my current weight. It just might make a lot of people go, well, you know what, I better check that before I click confirm here, because, it can go for 8. You can see some people, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong, that could be perfectly the case. I know my weight has kind of stabilized a little bit at the moment, and sometimes you wonder whether it's worth going in and adjusting it by 1 kg for whatever, the sake of just, it's fine. Like I'm 80 kg today. Tomorrow I could be 81. The day after I could be 79. So, it fluctuates a little bit like that. But it's just a little bit of accountability, I suppose. And on top of that, every now and then, obviously some will be picked for a reason, some may be picked at random, but FRR will request at some point or another from some individuals verification. So you will have to submit a video checking your height and your weight, and there's all sorts of directions on how to do that and what have you, and you'll have, I think it's 48 hours to submit that once it's requested. So effectively, if you're submitting here that that's your weight and that's your height, and then you've done a race, and then the race organizer emails your captain and says, listen, we need to get this rider verified. He has 48 hours basically to submit that is his correct weight and his correct height, which I think is fair enough. Maybe something that should be done a bit more often, but some people have different feelings about it. But it is what it is. If you don't like it, there's no one making you join the event. You don't have to. And for someone who doesn't submit or is found, it's not accurate for whatever reason, it's a bit vague yet on exactly what the penalties are, but there may be some points deduction for teams or whatever it might be. I'm not getting into that now as well because I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, not to be taken too lightly like that. You just take our chances. So that's the only other thing really. So as I say, the majority of stuff you're going, most Zwift riders are going to have a Zwift Power account. They'll have an FRR account. You just have to then register your interest to race for 6 so that your team captain can choose you from a drop-down menu. You must have a current ZRA rating, which again, most riders on Zwift will have. And then you just have to click that button once a week to verify that, yes, that is my correct weight and height as registered in Zwift. And if a verification is requested at some stage during the event, you'll have 48 hours to submit evidence that what you said and clicked to verify your weight and height is true and accurate. So that hopefully is straightforward enough. I think I've covered off most stuff there. I will include in the description below the links to these PDFs. So these PDFs again go through all this information as provided by the race organisers themselves, or well, Rich Fail. So, you know, ton of information to be found in there that goes into a good bit more detail, but I think I've given a fairly good overview of how the whole thing works. Here's the rules. Again, I'll include a link to that, but if you're logged into your FRR account, that's there for everyone to see. And, you know, you have all sorts about scoring, rider registration, verification, race passes, race etiquette, blah, blah, blah. So there's any amount of information there if you're looking for it. The events themselves are there now as well. So the schedule, I mean, is up. So let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit closer for you. Make it a little bit bigger. So yeah, there we go. So October 10th is, well, apart from the qualification race, the first round is made up of these 5 races. Here we are here. So we have the Royal Pump Room Points Race, Navigate Points Race, Ocean Nava Cliffside, an ITT race, 28 kilometers. At least it's flattish. Innsbrucking Scratch Race. Oh, that'll be good. Many laps is that? 27k. What would that be? 3 laps? Yeah, 3 laps. 3 laps, no segments. And then the 2015 UCI Worlds. Yeah, not one of my favourites. And that'll be a points race. So those are the first 5 races of round 1, and we have round 2, the 5 races, and I think that's all we have for the moment. I don't think round 3 is not obviously organised yet. So those are your courses as well if you want to have a look at those. And given that there'll be no heads-up display, it probably will be worth having a look at them in advance. I'm just going to come back off that now. Okay. What else have we got here? I think that's pretty much it. So the last thing anyone might be interested in is how the points are going to work. So I've knocked together a sample or an example of how a race might go. These are completely fictitious riders, but I've put in 4 teams: the green team, the red team, the blue team, and the orange team. So we have a GC rider, we have sprinter 1, sprinter 2, climber 1, climber 2 for each team. So let's say during sprint 1, there's only 8 riders in a field of 4 teams. There's only 8 riders that could score points. Now, of course, if there's 10 teams, it's 2 riders per team, so that would be 20 riders that can score points. So then obviously the points become less and less the further down you go. But just to keep it simple for me, because that took a bit of work, I wasn't going to put in 10 teams, I just put in 4 to give an idea of how it works. So during the first sprint, even if there are other riders up the road, if all the sprinters got dropped early on and every other rider went ahead, it doesn't matter. It's the sprinters still are the only riders that can score points on the sprint sections. They're sprinting against one another, and it's fastest through section. So it's not first across line. So therefore, all those riders gone up the road, if they go through the 2 sprint lines first, then it doesn't matter because it's fastest through section. I mean, even if these sprinters get divided up, so say there's a break that takes place at some stage during the race and you're a sprinter for the green team, but the 2 sprinters from the blue team and the 2 sprinters from the orange team have gone up the road ahead. It's not first across the line, it's fastest through section. So you can basically still compete for that sprint segment as a fastest through section segment. And the same applies for the climbers. So it's the fastest through that section on those climbs. And there's 2 climbs and 2 sprints per race in the points races. And it's a maximum of 50 points for the fastest through the section. And then, you know, a point down all the way down. So 50, 49, 48, 47, so on all the way down. That's how the points are scored. Now, you might think, oh, well, as a sprinter, maybe what I'll do is I'll sit up and I'll save me legs and I'll hit the sprint section really fast. Well, listen, you can if you want. It wouldn't be the approach I would take. You'll be missing out on draft if you don't stay with a group. And apart from that, the incentive is not just for the sprints for the sprinters or the climbs for the climbers. There's also incentive for all these riders to earn finish points, because everyone earns finish points. And in my opinion, those finish points are going to be probably more important, or certainly just as important as the points you get on your sections if you're a sprinter or a climber. So you can sit up if you want, try and gain those minimal advantage. Let's say you sit up and you get the advantage of fastest through section on the 2 sprints. You've scored 100 points. But let's say the guy that comes in second, he's stuck with the main group and he managed to get second. So he's got 49. He's only 2 points behind you. But now he's way up the road and he's going to finish across the line way ahead of you. There could be 30 riders between you. So now he's going to have a 30-point advantage over you because you sat up to try and get the fastest through section. So there's a trade-off there, which I think is brilliant. It's a great incentive to stay with the front group for as long as you can and not do that. We won't call it cheating. It's not cheating. Let's just say it's a tactic. It's a way of playing the game. But, we don't want that situation that happened in the early FRR tours where some riders were hitting the sprints and then turning the pedals to get home and saving their legs for the next day. So that's why the virtual broom wagon was brought in, the VBW, for the tour races, to try and keep the sprinters honest and try to, put in a somewhat of a relative effort after they'd completed their sprint sections. So that's that. That's how the sprinters and climbers score their points, 2 sections per race. And then the GC rider. So the GC riders all along, the GC riders can help their sprinters and can help their climbers. They can give them a lead out. They can pace them up the climbs. But the GC, nominated GC riders, so we see that we have 4 here because we have 4 teams, they don't score any points on any of these sections. So the only place the GC riders score points is at the end. So the GC riders are racing each other at the finish line. So the GC rider that finishes first across the finish line, not first, the GC rider that finishes first amongst his other GC riders gets 100 points. And what I mean by that is he may not be the first across the line at the end. So I've given the example here where the GC rider that finishes first against his fellow GC competitors, he actually was 5th across the line in the actual race. So he doesn't have to finish first across the line to get maximum 100 points against his fellow GC competitors. He just needs to be ahead of them to get the 100 points, and then so on and so forth. So the next GC, he was finished in 7th, the next GC rider finished in 8th, and then the next GC rider finished in 11th. But they got 100, 99, 98, 97 points consecutively because they're only competing against one another at the finish line. They are then also, everyone is competing for finishing points across the finish line. So they effectively can double up on their finish points. So if this rider, this orange team rider, if their GC rider finishes first across the line, so had he finished first here, he would have got 100 and he would have got another 100. So he would have got 200 points at the finish line. So we'll transfer all that across here now. So you can see over here the GC riders, they get 2 points totals. They get their finish points against their fellow GC competitors, and then they also get their finish points where they finished amongst everyone in the race. I hope that makes sense. The sprinters, they get their 2 sections that they went through plus the points for wherever they finished against everyone else across the finish line. So they get 3 sets of points. So every rider has the potential to earn 200 points. So if a sprinter got the 2 fastest through sections and he was first across the line, he'd get 50, 50 and 100. Unlikely, but hey, might happen. Same then for the climbers. They get the points from their 2 climbing sections and they get their points versus everyone else across the finish line. So they get 3 points totals to add up. And your GC riders, they get 2 points totals to add up, depending on how they competed against their fellow GC riders at the finish line and then how they can fit it in against everyone else. Hope that makes sense. But you can see how tight these points are. Like you're talking a difference of 1 point, from the person in front to the person behind on every section. So it's not as if first gets 50 points and second gets 40 points and third gets 35 points and so on down. And then, someone gets they finish first in a couple of sections and the race is effectively over because they've got such a points gap. The points are pretty tight. So that should keep things interesting all the way to the end. And as I said, even at the finish line, there's an awful lot of points to be hoovered up. If someone's gone too hard in the sprints or they try that tactic of sitting up to save the legs, they're going to get caught behind. They're not going to get a very good finishing position at the end. And, as you can see, even with 4 teams, the difference between first and last is 20 points. Now, you add another 4 teams into that, and that's another 20 points on top of that. That's 40 points difference. So it's hard to make up 40 points on your couple of sprint sections or your couple of climbing sections. So there's everything to race for, and there's a lot of different tactics that could be employed between each team, helping one another out and getting as many as you can to the finish line in a good place, sprint lead outs, pacing up the climbs, going ahead as satellite riders, all that kind of stuff. This is going to be really interesting. And then there's the wild card, which I can't add in here because I don't know enough about it. So my understanding is that, so if we look at this example, the red team finished first, the green team finished second, the blue team finished third, and the orange team finished fourth. So they will then get league points for their finishing positions. Now, what are the league points? Don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. But let's have a look at the rules. Scoring. Here we go. So position. So the team that finishes first gets 25 points in the league. The team that finishes second gets 23 points in their league. The team that finishes third, 21. So there's your points. That's how your race points turn into league points. Now on top of, so the team that finished first, which I think was the red team, they get 25 points. Now my understanding is if their wildcard nominated rider completes the task or whatever it is they're calling it that was set, what are they calling it? Each team must have a rider noted as their wildcard rider. When a rider completes the wildcard challenge set for a points race, then the teams will earn an extra team league point. So let's say that red team, if they nominated, say, their sprinter as the wildcard, and their sprinter completed the wildcard challenge, whatever that might be, then they will get 26 points. So that will make quite a difference, because if your wildcard rider that you nominate each race, well, that could be 5 points extra on top at the end of the round, which could make a massive difference. So that gets added in as well. I think that's about as much as I have to tell you at the moment. That's my understanding of how everything works. I hope that made sense. I hope that helped to clear up some things and not overcomplicate things. I hope that encourages some people to get involved. If you just want to race, just whatever team you're with, and just let them know you're interested. For captains or managers of teams, it should be a whole lot easier than organising a ladder event, for example, because I know those captains that organise those ladder events, that's a big workload, because of you're trying to organise races between teams. The fact that it's a fixed time every week certainly helps, because riders are either available or not available. That's it. And you have every rider in your team is available for selection. So unlike ladder, where riders are locked into a ladder team for a season, no riders are locked into any teams. So as long as the rider qualifies, that he's not at a ZRA rating that's higher than the league that you want him to race in, then basically he can race for that team. He can race for different teams each week, if that's what you want to do, if that's how you want to use those riders. Rider availability should be a little bit easier to organise. You could just run a poll on a Monday. Listen, what riders do we have available for this Friday's race? For this level, for this league, and then go from there. Okay, we only need 5, 2 sprinters, 2 climbers, and a GC rider. So it should be easier to kind of put together a few riders. I suppose anyone that's done the team time trials on a Thursday, I think it's probably a little bit like that. Certainly the way our team does it is they run a poll at the weekend, and anyone that's interested in doing a team time trial for the Thursday evening just puts in what category they are, A, B, C or D, and then once that information is that's closed off on a Wednesday, and Jason that organises our team time trials, he takes a look then at who's registered on Wednesday. He then puts together 2 or 3 or 4 teams, whatever can be made up, and then those teams are submitted for the team time trial on a Thursday. So this will work similar to that. The only downside is, or the only way it wouldn't work exactly the same, is that you have to have the team registered for 6 racing. So if you want to do that, say you have 2 teams that you can fit into that beta league, and then you'd want to register 2 teams. Now the riders that make up those 2 teams each week can be whatever you want. So there is that flexibility there. But if you only register 1 team and say 10 riders want to race on Friday, you can only pick 5 of them. But if you've got 2 teams and 10 riders want to race, now you can split those 10 riders up between those 2 teams. Or if you have 15 people that want to race and you've got 2 teams registered, well, now you're only telling 5 people that, look, can you be on standby in case someone has a technical or something like that. So, organisationally, that's the way it will go. But it's one of those events that I think basically when you do it, when you get involved, and after a couple of rounds are under our belt, it'll all make a whole lot more sense once you've actually done it. But for anyone that wants to just ride it, they're not interested in being a team captain or setting things up, or they're not bothered about how the leagues work, they just want to go and race, well, that's pretty much all that you need to do. Most Zwift riders are going to have everything that's necessary already. But as I said, you just have to register on the FRR, and then you'll just have to make sure you have a current ZRA rating, which you most likely do, and then you just have to click that button to verify your weight and your height in Zwift. And that's pretty much it. You're then available for your captain to choose you for the qualification race and any rounds following that. Any questions, stick them in the comments below and I'll try and do my best to answer them. I am by no means an expert on this series because it's never been run before. It's the first time. But all of this is to the best of my knowledge and research that I've done. And as I say, I think I have a fairly good handle on it on this stage. So I thought I would just try and share that hopefully helps to clear up some of the questions that some people might have. And hopefully with the timestamps, you can just jump to the bits that are of interest if you want to watch them back again. That's it. I'm out for now and catch you later.